A tech billionaire handed his unlimited credit card to a homeless single mother in a subway station and simply walked away. 24 hours. No rules. No limits. Just pure, unrestricted access to unimaginable wealth. 47 minutes later, his phone buzzed with the first transaction. It wasn't designer clothes. It wasn't a luxury hotel. It wasn't anything he expected. And when he saw what she actually bought, everything he believed about human nature shattered in an instant. Because in that single moment, she made a choice that would expose a truth he'd spent his entire life running from. A truth that would change both their futures forever. If this story is touching your heart, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss our life-changing stories. Now let's continue. Marcus Chen had given up on people long before his 35th birthday. As founder and CEO of Nextech Solutions, a software empire worth $8 billion, he'd seen humanity at its worst. His corner office in downtown Seattle overlooked Elliott Bay, floor-to-ceiling windows framing a view most people only saw in magazines. His penthouse apartment cost $12 million. His car collection could fund a small school district. Yet every single morning, Marcus woke up feeling hollow. His late mother, Linda Chen, had been different. She'd believed in kindness, in second chances, in the goodness of strangers. But after she died when Marcus was 19, his father, William Chen, had rebuilt him with different principles. Trust is for the naive, son, William had said 1,000 times. Especially with people who have nothing. Poverty breeds desperation, and desperate people will destroy you without hesitation. They can't help it. It's survival. Marcus had carried that belief like armor for 16 years. Every donation went through his foundation's lawyers. Every charitable act was calculated for maximum tax benefit and minimal personal involvement. He'd never once looked someone struggling in the eye and simply helped. Not without protecting himself first. But on that freezing February morning, something shifted. Marcus was late for a critical meeting with Japanese investors. His assistant Rachel practically jogging to keep pace with his long strides through Pioneer Square Station. His wool coat cost $6,000. His titanium briefcase held contracts worth $30 million. His phone exploded with messages from board members, lawyers, investors, everyone wanting pieces of him. Then he saw her. Huddled against the white tile wall near the southbound platform sat a woman, probably early 30s, with exhaustion etched into every feature. A small girl, maybe 5 or 6, slept curled against her, wrapped in a donated jacket 3 sizes too big. The woman's arms formed a protective cage around the child. Fierce, unbreakable, desperate. A cardboard sign rested beside them. Single mom. Lost everything. Anything helps. Bless you. Marcus stopped walking. Rachel nearly collided with his back. Mr. Chen, we have exactly 7 minutes before. Wait here, Marcus said, his voice distant. He approached slowly, expensive leather shoes clicking against dirty tile, unsure why his legs moved when his brain screamed to keep walking. Homeless people filled Seattle's streets. This wasn't special. This wasn't unique. Except something about her stopped him cold. When she looked up, there was no performance in her gaze. No rehearsed desperation or practiced plea. Just exhaustion so deep it had settled into her bones after months of impossible wait. I'm sorry, she said immediately, her voice rough from cold and disuse. We're not bothering anyone. We'll move if you need us to. Her apology for existing hit Marcus harder than any business failure ever had. What's your name? Marcus asked, kneeling down despite his expensive suit pants touching the grimy subway floor. The woman blinked, surprised that kindness wore tailored Italian wool. Hope, she said quietly. Hope Martinez. And your daughter? The woman's arms instinctively tightened around the sleeping child. Her name is Lily. She turned 6 2 weeks ago. Marcus studied Hope's face. Intelligence lived behind that exhaustion. Education in the careful way she chose her words. This wasn't someone born into poverty. This was someone who'd fallen from somewhere higher and couldn't stop the descent. How long have you been out here? Shame flickered across Hope's features. 4 months. We stayed with my cousin until October, but she lost her place too. We've been rotating between here and the shelter on 3rd Avenue when they have beds. 4 months. A 6-year-old sleeping on subway floors for 4 months while thousands of people walked past every day. Rachel cleared her throat impatiently. Mr. Chen, the investors. Marcus raised one hand, silencing her without breaking eye contact with Hope. His father's voice echoed in his skull. The desperate will drain you dry and thank you while doing it. Maybe it was time to test that theory himself. To prove once and for all whether his father had been right, or whether Marcus had spent 16 years believing a lie that protected his bank account but poisoned his humanity. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. Hope's eyes widened slightly, probably expecting a few bills. Maybe $20. Maybe $50 if she was incredibly lucky. Instead, Marcus pulled out a sleek black credit card. Metallic edges. Raised numbers. No spending limit. Just pure, unrestricted access to wealth most people couldn't imagine. Hope stared at it like he'd pulled out a loaded gun. Take it, Marcus said, holding the card between them. I don't understand, Hope stammered, pulling Lily closer. It's yours for 24 hours, Marcus explained, his voice steady despite the chaos of doubt screaming inside his head. Buy whatever you want. No limits. No questions. No conditions. Hope's hands began trembling. Sir, this has to be some kind of trap. People don't just hand out credit cards to homeless strangers. I want to test something my father taught me, Marcus said, speaking complete truth for the first time in years. I want to see what someone with nothing does when given everything. Prove him right or prove him wrong. He pressed the card into her palm. Her fingers were ice cold, rough from exposure, shaking like leaves in winter wind. Why me? Hope whispered, tears pooling in eyes that had cried themselves empty months ago. Marcus looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully despite the cold, despite the noise, despite the absolute instability of her entire world. He thought about his own childhood, private schools, family vacations in Bali, every need met before he could name it. This child had nothing except a mother who refused to let go. Because I'm tired of assumptions, Marcus said quietly. Because I want to believe there's still goodness left in people who've lost everything. Hope closed her fingers around the card slowly, like someone touching fire for the first time. 24 hours, Marcus repeated, standing up. Spend whatever you want. There's no pin. Just sign your name. I'll find you here tomorrow morning. Same time, same place. Rachel looked physically ill. Mr. Chen, this is insane. We should establish legal parameters. No parameters, Marcus said firmly. No protection. Just trust. The word felt foreign in his mouth. Trust. He'd spent 16 years avoiding it like poison. Marcus didn't sleep that night. His penthouse felt massive and cold despite the smart home heating system that cost more than a luxury car. He stood at the window, staring at Seattle's glittering skyline, wondering if somewhere down there, Hope and Lily were finally warm. He pulled out his phone, opened his banking app. The credit card was linked to his personal account. He could track every transaction in real time. Every purchase. Every location. Every choice she made. 4 hours. Nothing. Midnight came and went. 1 a.m. 2. 3. Still nothing. Why wasn't she spending? Was she afraid? Did she think it was a trap? Or was she planning something big? Waiting for stores to open so she could maximize every possible dollar? At 5:47 a.m., his phone buzzed. Transaction. $41.27. Location. 24-hour Walgreens, Capitol Hill. Marcus's pulse spiked. He clicked for details, but the app only showed the amount. Not what was purchased. Just numbers. Then another notification. Transaction. $58.43. Location: Target, Northgate. Then another. Transaction: $31.89. Location: Starbucks, downtown. His chest tightened, not with anger, but with something stranger. Anticipation. She was spending, yes, but carefully, modestly. These weren't the transactions of someone drunk on sudden wealth. These were the purchases of someone desperately practical. By 7:30 a.m., Marcus couldn't wait anymore. Cancel everything today, he told Rachel when she called, panicked about the missed investor meeting. Mr. Chin, you have 6 critical meetings and the Japanese delegation is furious. I don't care, Marcus said, surprising himself with how much he meant it. Cancel everything. Reschedule. I don't care how. He dressed quickly, grabbed his coat, and had his driver take him toward Pioneer Square Station. But 2 blocks away, he told the driver to stop. He needed to walk. Needed to feel the cold Seattle air. Needed to remember what the city actually felt like when you weren't insulated by wealth. When he reached the southbound platform, Hope was exactly where he'd left her. But everything else had changed. Lily was awake now, sitting beside her mother wearing a brand new pink winter coat with a fuzzy hood. Her hair had been brushed and pulled back with butterfly clips. She clutched a new stuffed bunny, hugging it tight while she colored in a fresh coloring book with crayons that still smelled like the package. Hope saw Marcus approaching and immediately stood up, the credit card already in her trembling hand. I was going to return it, she said quickly, panic edging her voice. I promise. I just needed to get a few things first. Basic things. Necessary things. Keep it, Marcus said gently, raising both hands. You still have hours left. Hope's shoulders sagged with relief and confusion. I don't understand you. That makes 2 of us, Marcus admitted. He glanced at Lily, who was watching him with wide, curious brown eyes. You bought her a coat. She was freezing, Hope said simply, as if that explained everything. And perhaps it did. Marcus knelt down to Lily's level, careful not to startle her. That's a nice bunny. What's her name? Lily hugged the toy tighter, shy but smiling. Rosie, she whispered. That's a beautiful name, Marcus said softly, his throat tight. He looked up at Hope. What else did you buy? Hope hesitated, then slowly pulled 2 crumpled receipts from her pocket and handed them over like evidence in a trial she was certain to lose. Marcus scanned the first receipt. Children's winter coat, size 6. Children's waterproof boots. 3-pack socks. 7-pack underwear. Stuffed bunny toy. Coloring books. Crayons. Children's multivitamins. Band-aids. Neosporin. Children's cold medicine. His throat tightened. Every single item was for Lily. Not one thing for herself. The second receipt was from a grocery store. Bread. Peanut butter. Granola bars. Apples. Juice boxes. String cheese. A gallon of milk. And at the bottom, something that made Marcus's breath catch. Women's Shelter Donation Fund. $150. He looked up sharply. You donated money? Hope's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. The shelter on 3rd Avenue, they've helped us when they could. They're always full, always running out of supplies. I thought if I had extra, even just for one day, maybe I could help someone else. Someone else. Marcus repeated, his voice barely functional. You're homeless. You've been sleeping on subway floors for 4 months. And you gave money to help other people. There are women there with babies, Hope said quietly. With teenagers. With disabilities. Some of them have it so much worse than we do. I know what it's like to need help and have nowhere to turn. Marcus stared at the receipts in his shaking hands. His father's voice was completely silent now, obliterated by the truth printed on thermal paper. This woman, who had every reason to be selfish, who had every justification to think only of herself and her daughter, had spent a billionaire's money on necessities, medicine, and charity. Not alcohol. Not designer clothes. Not jewelry or electronics or anything remotely self-indulgent. Just survival. Just kindness. Just love. You didn't buy anything for yourself, Marcus said, his voice strained. Not a single thing. Hope shook her head. Lily comes first. She always comes first. I can manage. But she deserves better. She deserves to be warm. To be safe. To be a child. Marcus looked at Lily, coloring a picture of a flower with fierce concentration, Rosie the bunny tucked under her arm. A child who'd spent 6 years learning that the world was cold and unstable, but who still smiled. Still colored. Still hoped. For the first time in his life, Marcus Chen felt genuinely small. Not in wealth. Not in power. But in character. In humanity. This homeless single mother had more grace in her roughened fingertips than he'd cultivated in 35 years of privilege. Come with me, he said suddenly, the words tumbling out before his brain could catch up. Hope blinked. What? Both of you. Come with me. Please. Fear flickered in her eyes. Where? Somewhere warm, Marcus said, his voice breaking slightly. Somewhere safe. Somewhere you can finally stop running. Tears spilled down Hope's cheeks. She looked at her daughter, then at the man kneeling before them, and for the first time in 4 months, she allowed herself to believe that maybe not everyone in the world was cruel. Marcus took them to the Fairmont Olympic first. Not his penthouse. That felt too invasive, too overwhelming. Instead, he booked a corner suite overlooking Pioneer Square, with 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, and windows that let in actual sunlight instead of fluorescent subway glare. Hope stood in the doorway, frozen, unable to cross the threshold. It's okay, Marcus said gently. This is yours. For as long as you need it. No conditions. No expectations. Just safety. Lily, unburdened by adult disbelief, ran inside immediately, her new boots squeaking on polished hardwood. She touched everything with wonder. The velvet sofa, the heavy curtains, the bowl of fresh fruit on the marble counter. Mama, look. Lily called, pointing at the bathroom. There's a bathtub. A really, really big one. Hope finally stepped inside, moving like someone walking through a dream that might shatter. She set down the plastic bag that held everything she owned, literally everything that remained of her previous life, and turned to Marcus with tears streaming freely. I don't understand, she whispered, her voice fracturing. Why are you doing this? What do you want from us? Marcus had been asked that question 1,000 times in business. People always wanted to know his angle, his strategy, his hidden agenda. But standing there, watching a mother see safety for the first time in months, he realized he didn't have an agenda. He just had a choice. You reminded me what money is actually for, he said quietly. I'd forgotten. Or maybe I never knew. Hope walked over to where Lily was pressing buttons on the TV remote, delighted by every channel that appeared. She knelt down and wrapped her arms around her daughter, holding her like she'd been afraid to hold her too tightly before, as if hope itself might break. You need to rest, Marcus said, his voice thick. Order room service. Take a real bath. Sleep in an actual bed. I'll come back tomorrow morning. We'll figure out the next steps then. Next steps? Hope asked, confusion and fear mixing in her expression. Housing. Employment. School for Lily. Healthcare. Stability. Marcus listed them like a business plan because that's what his brain did. It solved problems systematically. None of this has to be temporary unless you want it to be. Hope stared at him like he'd just spoken a language she'd forgotten existed. You're serious. Completely. You're a stranger. We're nobody. We're just 2 people who got unlucky. You were nobody, Marcus corrected gently. Now you're someone I care about. Now you matter. Now you have someone who won't let you fall again. Hope opened her mouth to argue, to protest, to explain all the reasons this couldn't be real. But exhaustion won. 4 months of hypervigilance and fear and sleeping with one eye open came crashing down. She sank onto the couch, her body folding like someone who'd been holding up the sky and could finally let it rest on something stronger. "Thank you," she whispered, and the words carried the weight of 4 months of suffering compressed into 2 syllables. Marcus nodded, his throat too tight to speak. "Get some rest, Hope. You're safe now. Both of you." As he left the suite, he heard Lily's delighted laughter echoing behind him, and Marcus Chen realized he was smiling. Not the calculated smile he used in boardrooms, but something genuine. Something human. Something his face had almost forgotten how to do. That night, Marcus made phone calls. Not to lawyers or PR teams or financial advisors, but to people who actually helped. Social workers, housing advocates, job placement specialists, education coordinators. He used his name not as a weapon, but as a key to open doors that had been slammed in Hope's face for months. By morning, he had options. Real, tangible, sustainable options. He returned to the Fairmont at 8 a.m., carrying coffee from Hope's favorite chain, she'd mentioned it once, briefly, and he'd remembered, and a bag of fresh pastries from a bakery Lily would love. When Hope opened the door, she looked transformed. Not in appearance, she still wore the same worn clothes, but in posture. In the way she stood straighter. In the way her eyes held something other than perpetual fear. Lily was drawing at the table, humming a song about butterflies. Rosie sat proudly beside her, overseeing the artwork. "Morning," Marcus said, handing Hope the coffee. She took it with both hands, inhaling the steam like a memory she'd thought was lost forever. Real coffee from an actual coffee shop. I forgot what that was like. They sat together while Lily colored, and Marcus laid out the plan. A 2-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood near excellent schools. Subsidized initially, but with a pathway to full independence. Job training programs matched to her skills. She'd been a dental hygienist before everything fell apart. Healthcare coverage. Lily enrolled in 1st grade at a public school with outstanding ratings and a before and after care program. Hope listened in stunned silence, tears running down her face, dripping into coffee that had grown cold while Marcus talked. "This isn't charity," Marcus clarified, echoing what he'd been telling himself all night. "It's an investment. You're intelligent, capable, and resilient. You just need a foundation to rebuild from. A place to stand so you can start climbing again." "I don't know how to repay you," Hope said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You already did," Marcus replied. "You showed me that goodness still exists in people. That desperation doesn't automatically create monsters. That my father was wrong about everything that actually matters." Hope shook her head, more tears falling. "I just bought what Lily needed." "Exactly," Marcus said. "You had unlimited wealth for 24 hours, and you chose love over greed. Do you have any idea how rare that is?" Hope looked at her daughter, carefully coloring inside the lines of a butterfly, her small tongue poking out in concentration. "She's all I have. She's all that matters. Everything I do, every choice I make, it's all for her." "I know," Marcus said softly. "I saw it in those receipts. I saw it in that donation to the shelter. You could have taken everything, but you gave anyway. That's not just good. That's extraordinary." 3 weeks later, Hope and Lily moved into their new apartment. 2 bedrooms on the 4th floor of a clean, quiet building with a small playground in back. It wasn't luxury, laminate counters, standard appliances, basic fixtures, but it was theirs. Walls that didn't move. A door that locked from the inside. Heat that worked. Windows that let in light without letting in wind. Marcus helped them move in, carrying boxes, assembling furniture from IKEA, laughing when Lily insisted on supervising by placing Rosie on every flat surface and declaring it decorated. "She's very particular about interior design," Hope joked, watching her daughter arrange stuffed animals with the seriousness of an architect. Marcus didn't mind. For the first time in years, he felt useful. Not powerful. Not influential. Not wealthy. Just useful. Just present. Just human. That evening, after Lily fell asleep in her new bed, Her very first bed that wasn't a couch or a floor or someone else's charity. Hope and Marcus stood in the small living room, exhaustion and gratitude hanging thick between them. I start the workforce reintegration program on Monday, Hope said. Dental hygiene recertification. Stable work. Good benefits. A real career path again. You're going to be incredible at it, Marcus said, and he meant it. Hope looked around the apartment, her eyes glistening in the lamplight. I keep waiting to wake up back at the subway station. To realize this was all some elaborate dream I had while freezing on concrete. It's real, Marcus assured her. It's yours. No one can take it away. She turned to face him, her voice breaking around the edges. Why did you choose us? Out of all the people you could have helped, out of everyone in the city who's struggling, why me and Lily? Marcus had thought about that question every day since that morning at the subway station. He'd analyzed it like a business decision, broken it down into logical components. But the truth was simpler and more complicated than logic. Because you looked at your daughter the way my mother used to look at me, he said quietly. Before she died. Before my father turned cold and bitter and taught me that trust was weakness. You looked at Lily like nothing else in the world existed. Like you'd burn down the universe to keep her safe. And I realized I'd spent 16 years believing people like you didn't exist anymore. Hope wiped her eyes. You gave us a future. No, Marcus said. You already had a future. I just helped you reach it. You did the hard part. You survived. You kept Lily safe. You stayed good when the world gave you every reason to be bitter. That's all you. I just removed some obstacles. Hope smiled through tears. You're different than I expected. When I first saw you at the station, in your expensive coat with your expensive briefcase, I thought you'd be cold. Cruel, maybe. Indifferent at best. I was all of those things, Marcus admitted. You changed that. You and Lily. You reminded me that wealth is worthless if it doesn't multiply meaning. They stood in comfortable silence, the apartment settling around them with creaks and hums that sounded like peace. Lily's soft breathing drifted from the bedroom. Traffic hummed distantly outside. The heater clicked on, flooding the space with warmth. For the first time in 4 months, Hope looked relaxed. And for the first time in 16 years, Marcus felt like his life had actual purpose. Months passed like pages turning in a book Marcus never wanted to end. Hope completed her recertification program with honors, landed a position at Seattle Dental Group with full benefits and regular hours. She worked hard, saved carefully, built a life brick by brick. Lily thrived in first grade, making friends, bringing home artwork, no longer carrying the weight of homelessness in her small shoulders. She joined the school choir. She learned to read chapter books. She talked about becoming a veterinarian someday because she loved animals. Marcus visited often, not as a benefactor checking on an investment, but as a friend. Someone who attended Lily's winter concert where she sang Jingle Bells, with enthusiastic volume if not perfect pitch. Someone who helped Hope navigate apartment maintenance when the dishwasher broke. Someone who showed up on difficult days and didn't need to be asked. He learned things about himself he'd never known. That he liked cooking simple meals more than expensive restaurants. That children's laughter was better than board meeting applause. That watching someone rebuild their life was more satisfying than watching his stock portfolio grow. One Saturday afternoon, sitting on Hope's modest couch while Lily showed him her science project about monarch butterflies, Hope handed him something. His credit card. I kept it, she admitted, blushing. I know I should have given it back months ago, but I was scared. Scared that if I returned it, all of this would disappear. That it was only real as long as I held on to that piece of plastic. Marcus smiled, closing her fingers back around the card. Keep it. Marcus, I can't. Emergency fund, he said simply. For Lily. For unexpected expenses. For peace of mind. You've proven exactly what you do with it. You've proven I can trust you more than I trust most people I've known for decades. Hope stared at the card, then at him. You really mean that? Completely. She wiped her eyes, laughing through tears. You're the strangest billionaire I've ever met. I'll take that as a compliment, Marcus said, grinning. Lily looked up from her butterfly poster, covered in glitter and completely serious. Are you gonna marry my mama? Both adults froze. Hope's face turned scarlet. Lily, you can't just. Why not? Lily asked innocently. You smile all the time when Marcus is here. And he brings us donuts. And he helped me with my math homework even though fractions are really hard. Marcus laughed, the sound genuine and surprised. Your daughter makes excellent points. Marcus, I'm so sorry, Hope started. Don't be, he said softly, his eyes holding hers. She's not wrong. You do smile more when I'm here. And I smile more too. More than I have in maybe ever. The apartment fell silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of children playing outside. Hope set the credit card down on the coffee table, her hands trembling slightly. What are you saying? I'm saying that helping you and Lily wasn't just about proving my father wrong, Marcus said carefully. It became about finding something I didn't know I was missing. A reason to be better. A reason to actually use what I have to create meaning instead of just accumulating more. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I'm saying that you and Lily have become the most important part of my life. And if you'd let me, I'd like to keep being part of yours. Not as a benefactor. Not as some rich guy who helped you once. But as someone who cares deeply about both of you. Hope stood up, walking to the window overlooking the small playground where children swung on swings and climbed on monkey bars. Lily went back to her butterfly project, humming softly, apparently satisfied with the conversation she'd started. I'm terrified, Hope said quietly, her back to Marcus. Not of you. Of this. Of believing this is real and then losing it. Losing you. Marcus stood and walked over, stopping a respectful distance behind her. I'm terrified too. I've spent 16 years building walls to keep everyone out. To protect myself from caring about anyone or anything except profit margins and quarterly reports. And then you handed me those receipts, and every wall I'd built just crumbled. Hope turned to face him, tears streaming down her cheeks. You saved us. You saved my daughter. How do I separate gratitude from whatever this is? I don't know, Marcus admitted. But I know that I don't visit because I feel obligated. I don't call to check in because I'm worried about my investment. I do these things because when I'm not here, I'm thinking about being here. When I'm in board meetings, I'm wondering what Lily learned in school that day. When I'm supposed to be reviewing contracts, I'm remembering how you laugh at my terrible jokes. He took a step closer. I know that you've rebuilt your entire life in 6 months. You don't need me anymore. You never really did. You just needed a chance, and you took it and ran with it and created something beautiful. So this isn't about need. It's about want. It's about choosing to build something together because we both want to, not because either of us has to. Hope wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Lily loves you. She asks about you every day you don't visit. She draws pictures of you. She told her teacher that you're the kindest person she knows. She's pretty incredible herself, Marcus said softly. Wonder where she gets that from. Hope laughed, the sound wet with tears but genuine. You really want this? A relationship with a single mother who works full-time and has a 6-year-old who talks about butterflies constantly and still has nightmares about being cold. I really want this, Marcus confirmed. All of it. The complicated schedule. The butterfly facts. The nightmares where I get to help make her feel safe again. All of it. Hope stared at him for a long moment, searching his face for doubt or hesitation or hidden agendas. She found none. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Let's try this. Let's be terrified together. Marcus smiled, and Hope saw in that expression the same wonder she'd felt 6 months ago when a stranger in an expensive coat had handed her unlimited wealth and unlimited trust. I have one condition though, Hope said, a small smile breaking through her tears. What's that? You have to teach me how to make that pasta dish you brought last week. Lily hasn't stopped talking about it, and I refuse to be shown up in my own kitchen by a billionaire who probably has personal chefs. Marcus laughed, the sound filling the small apartment with warmth. Deal. But fair warning. My cooking skills are extremely limited. That pasta dish is literally the only thing I know how to make well. Perfect, Hope said. We'll figure out the rest together. From her spot on the floor, surrounded by butterfly pictures and glitter, Lily looked up and grinned. Does this mean Marcus can come to my birthday party next month? Yes, Hope and Marcus said simultaneously, then looked at each other and laughed. 1 year later, Marcus stood in that same apartment, though it looked different now, filled with photos on walls, Lily's artwork covering the refrigerator, a shared life built piece by piece. He'd proposed 3 months earlier, on a random Tuesday evening while helping Lily with homework, because he'd realized he didn't want to wait for a perfect moment. With Hope and Lily, every moment was already perfect. Today was special though. They were meeting with the board of the Marcus Chen Foundation, a new non-profit he'd established with a revolutionary approach to fighting homelessness. Hope sat beside him at the conference table, professional and confident in her new role as the foundation's director of family services. She'd quit her dental hygiene job 2 months ago to do this work full-time, channeling her experience into helping other families escape the cycle she'd barely survived. The direct giving program has helped 47 families so far, Hope explained to the board members, her voice steady and sure. We provide immediate financial support with 0 restrictions, combined with comprehensive support services, housing assistance, job training, healthcare navigation, childcare support. One board member, an older businessman Marcus had known for years, shook his head skeptically. And how many of these families have misused the funds? Bought drugs? Disappeared? Hope smiled, not defensive, but knowing. 0. Not one single family has misused the support. Because when you treat people with dignity, when you trust them to know what they need, when you remove the barriers instead of adding more hoops to jump through, people rise. Every single time. She pulled up a slide showing photos and updates from families they'd helped. This is James and his 3 kids, lost their housing after he lost his job due to medical issues. We gave him 6 months of rent support and job training. He's now employed full-time as a medical coder and volunteering at the food bank every weekend. Another slide. This is Maria and her teenage daughter, escaped domestic violence with nothing but the clothes they wore. We provided immediate housing, legal support, trauma counseling, and job placement. Maria now works as a paralegal and is saving to buy her first house. The Skept board member leaned forward. This is remarkable. How did you figure out this approach? Marcus and Hope exchanged a look. Someone taught me, Marcus said quietly, that the poor aren't dangerous or inherently irresponsible. They're just people who need a chance. Someone proved to me that when you trust people, when you give them resources without judgment or conditions, they make choices that prioritize love, family, and community. He reached over and took Hope's hand. My father taught me that trust was weakness. That desperate people would always betray you. He was wrong about everything. And it took a homeless single mother showing me receipts from one extraordinary day to finally understand the truth. The meeting continued, the board approving expanded funding, more families, bigger dreams. Afterward, Marcus and Hope picked up Lily from her after-school program. She was 7 now, taller, confident, obsessed with soccer and still butterflies. How was the meeting? Lily asked, bouncing between them as they walked toward Marcus's car, a sensible sedan now, not the sports car he used to drive. Really good, Butterfly, Hope said, using the nickname that had stuck. We're going to help a lot more families. Like Marcus helped us? Lily asked. Exactly like that, Marcus confirmed. Lily was quiet for a moment, then said something that stopped both adults in their tracks. I want to do that too when I grow up. Help people who are sad and cold and scared. Make them not scared anymore. Hope knelt down, eye level with her daughter. You already do that, baby. Every day. Just by being kind. Just by remembering what it was like. Just by caring. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Marcus and Hope sat on their balcony. They'd moved to a bigger apartment 6 months ago, one with space for all of them, including Marcus when he officially moved in after the wedding next month. Do you ever regret it? Hope asked quietly. That day at the subway station? Giving your credit card to a complete stranger. Marcus thought about that day. The fear. The doubt. His father's voice screaming warnings. Then he thought about everything that came after. The receipts that changed his understanding of humanity. The months of watching Hope rebuild. The moment Lily first called him Marcus Dad. The foundation that was changing lives. The family he never knew he needed. Not for 1 second, he said. You gave me back something I'd lost. Something I didn't even know was missing. What's that? The ability to believe in people again. To trust. To love without calculating the cost. He pulled her closer. You and Lily taught me that wealth isn't about how much you have. It's about what you do with it. Who you help with it. What meaning you create with it. Hope rested her head on his shoulder. You taught me something too. What's that? That not everyone walks past. That sometimes someone stops. Someone sees you. Someone cares enough to take a risk on a stranger. You restored my faith in humanity just as much as I restored yours. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Seattle's lights twinkle in the distance. Somewhere in the city, another family was sleeping in a subway station. Another mother was holding her child and wondering if anyone saw them. If anyone cared. Tomorrow, the Marcus Chen Foundation would find them. And the cycle would continue, not of poverty and despair, but of trust, dignity, and hope. Because Marcus had learned the most important lesson of his life. The richest thing you can give someone isn't money. It's the belief that they matter. That they're worthy. That they're seen. And sometimes, that belief changes everything. Thank you so much for watching this incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our inspiring stories. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Drop a comment below telling us what moment impacted you the most. Remember, kindness costs nothing, but it's worth everything. See you in the next story.